Welcome to our series, Our Lives with Water. Our guest today is Bjørn Heyerdahl, and I'm very curious, Bjørn, about your sharing. So, could you please guide us about your experience with the ocean?
Well, I was born into a long line of people who've lived on, nearby, and used the ocean. I have a family lineage that goes back to 812 on the Norwegian side of my family. A very famous grandfather who crossed the Pacific Ocean on the Kon-Tiki expedition, and later on in the late 60s, a reed boat sailing across the Atlantic Ocean. So we come from a family of Vikings originally, who used the ocean for fishing, for food, for life, for inspiration, for their mythology, and as a conveyor belt. And as my grandfather said, the oceans were, even in ancient times, 3,000 to 4,000 years ago, the oceans were conveyor belts of culture. They weren't barriers between continents. So I come with that attitude to the ocean. I was born right near it in Durban by a few days. My parents were in Norway before that, but my mother's mother lived in Durban and she came out here to South Africa. And long story short, that's how I grew up in South Africa, most of the time on the coast. So I was surfing as a teenager, diving for crayfish, spearfishing, swimming, playing, either in the rivers of KwaZulu-Natal or in the ocean itself. So I have a very visceral, long lineage and personal experience of being on the ocean, to the degree that I built a long-term dream of mine was to build a Viking ship, and build a vessel of my ancestors in the way that they built it, and sail significantly on the ocean with that, to be the first person to sail around the southern tip of Africa in a Viking ship. And I built that in 2019, and sailed it around the Cape with a crew of 12. And there, a whole nother level of experiencing man's connection with the ocean, this archaic, ancient maritime engineering, with people that lived so close to it. The movement of those timbers, the way you clinker build that boat so that it actually moves with the ocean. It's flexible. It is a beautiful thing. So to me, I've always been in love with the ocean. It's my spiritual place. I do a baptism in it every time I swim, a conscious immersion in all of our primal and most transcendent aspects of human life, I believe can be fostered in the ocean.
I was also wondering, not wondering, but more reflecting when you were talking about this waves of culture, sort of, that you're always bringing the cultural element in it. So thank you for that type of sharing and the realization. I was also wondering, as you said, you've been the ocean, I would like to say most of your life. So what the ocean sort of has taught you, or sort of lessons you have been, observing when you are, yeah, traveling across the oceans. So I was just wondering, I would believe there are many, but I was just, yeah, wondering what comes in your mind.
Yes, that is a broad question. And again, maybe I can separate it into different segments for you. Maybe I will start with the philosophical lessons, although they are equally practical. So the ocean is the source of all life, all human life, all life on the biosphere. It is not separate from the rain and the rivers and the aquifers or any other element of life on earth. It feeds it, it nourishes it, it is relentless, it is self-cleansing, it supports so much life in a reciprocity, a perfect reciprocity to maintain its temperature. It works both with the sun and geological energies, and and movement and current and wind. So for me, the ocean is the wisest of all elements. It's the place you can sit and learn about resilience, about your true origins. And then layers come on top of that, of how our ancestors, like mine and yours, all had a relationship in one way or the other, whether they were conscious of it or not. We breathe in as the ocean breathes out. It is the biggest rainforest by far, in terms of its coral reefs and its other life that produces the critical oxygen that we all need. So I've learned from it something eternal, something eternal in our being, that this conscious reciprocal breathing and all of the mechanics and hydraulics that run our earth, we are absolutely part of that. And it's why I've never been afraid to die in the ocean. If I refer to a death of this that you see and hear now, this rather fragile form of me, in the grander philosophical sense, the ocean teaches us that we are an incredibly resilient entity, a massive system of life, so much more than our little bag of skin, which might be clinging to the end of a boat or onto the mast, fearing its mortality. I'm able to breathe in there and know that when this form passes, and hopefully it does pass on an ocean or somewhere beautiful like that, that when that happens, nothing changes for me. Nothing changes. In the grander scheme of things, we've just have this privileged space to learn and share, as all of our levels of consciousness and awareness, and all of our cultural richness, and the other creatures which have sentience at different stages to us, or in different forms and different languages, ways of communicating. And the ocean, I think, it teaches us that lesson. It just crashes relentlessly on that beach, and it also caresses that sand. It polishes the rocks. It brings down whole mountainsides. It does all of that work with this gritty, beautiful grace, and it feeds us. So there's just too much richness in it for me to share. But I have an incredible gratitude every time I'm able to walk down and sit on that sand, or immerse myself, walk into that ocean, knowing that there are icebergs floating in that same medium, that there are people sailing on it, that there are giant sea monsters underneath it in the depths. It's To me, its lesson is gratitude, and its lesson is that there is one system of life from which we are inextricably joined, whether that be psychologically or physically. Our very breath and the cells in our body and the microbes that animate us, all of these things are a product of that ocean and need to be revered and respected, and treated as part of our own body, our own system.
I was truly carried away, and also in terms of this connection. And although we are also at the moment in two separate places, we are all connected in one way or another. And yeah, it was a truly beautiful reminding, I think. So thank you for that. I also was wondering, but I think your words are already truly inspiring, but I also know your your movement towards this nature awareness, and also telling to others to to experience the ocean. So I'm just wondering about this message to others, and how maybe who have not yet I don't know, received that message, or that feeling of connection with the ocean, what would be the first thing to to remind ourselves that there is a true way of being with the ocean and with the waters. But I again think you said it already so beautifully. I'm not sure if there is anything else you would like to add on that topic.